One common belief is secretly keeping people from getting smarter, and that is the belief that intelligence is fixed, something you're either born with or not. This belief often feels justified by the widespread claim that IQ cannot be changed. But here's the truth. Just because we haven't figured out a way to increase IQ yet doesn't mean it's impossible. And even more important, and this is what you need to understand, IQ doesn't actually measure all aspects of intelligence. IQ tests assess only a limited set of mental abilities. True intelligence is a much broader combination of many things: patterns of thinking, patterns of behavior, habits, skills, abilities, ideas and beliefs, traits, etc. And the majority of these can't be measured by an IQ score. The good news is that these are all things you can learn and develop, and by applying them, you'll effectively become smarter. In this series, I'll uncover the most common traits of intelligent people and provide practical action points you can apply to activate your own intelligence. So, let's dive in. 1. Thoughtful decisions and actions. People make dozens, if not hundreds, of decisions every day. Many of these are made on autopilot, without much thought, which creates a bad habit of impulsive and thoughtless decision-making, even in important matters. Smarter individuals, however, are careful not to act rashly. Before making a decision, they pause and take time to think carefully about the situation. They clarify their desired outcome and meticulously evaluate various options, considering how each could play out, to identify the best path forward. This is the main difference between intelligent people and others. Every decision they make and action they take is carefully and intelligently thought through. They try not to do anything foolish or careless. They strive to avoid mistakes by ensuring their reasoning and thinking are sound. They also try to avoid scenarios of failure by considering all possible undesirable outcomes and preparing for them. This is why they have a higher success rate and make fewer mistakes compared to others. And the more they practice this habit of thoughtful decision-making, the better they get at it. They learn from past mistakes and poor decisions, gradually improving their decision-making ability. In addition to personal experience, they also study decision-making through books and research. Action points. 1. Never act impulsively or thoughtlessly. 2. Develop the habit of noticing whenever you're about to make a decision, even if it's a small one. Then make sure to take the time to think it through. Don't act until you've confirmed that it's a sound decision. 3. Make it a habit to regularly reflect on your past decisions and learn from the mistakes you've made. 4th. Study decision-making theories and methods through books, articles, and research to improve your approach. 2. Vast knowledge and deep expertise. One of the most common characteristics of smart people is that they know a lot. They hold a vast amount of knowledge, and their knowledge is not limited to one field only, but it extends across many domains and subjects. Be it science or philosophy or psychology or history or politics or economics or any other field, they know something about it. You can start a conversation with them on almost any topic, and they'll most often have something to say about it, whether it's an interesting fact or an insight or a thoughtful opinion. Their vast knowledge is the result of a constant learning habit that has become a core part of their lifestyle. They learn in many different ways, through books, online research, educational videos and documentaries, podcasts, and personal experience. No matter the method, their knowledge expands every single day. Behind this lies a strong need and desire to keep learning, fueled by intense curiosity. They also recognize the value of knowledge and the power it brings, giving them a competitive edge over other people. Smart people build knowledge in 2 ways. First, they have a broad understanding of many different fields and subjects. Second, they go much deeper in certain areas, often reaching near expert levels. These are typically the topics that personally fascinate them, and they dedicate considerable effort to studying them thoroughly. Action points. 1. Make learning a habit by setting aside dedicated time for it in your schedule. 2. Learn the basics of multiple fields. For each field, begin with an introductory book or course that provides an overview and covers the fundamentals. 3. Master your chosen fields. Select areas that personally interest you the most, and work to deepen your knowledge as much as possible, aiming for expert-level understanding. 4. Learn about effective learning methods and memorization techniques to better retain and recall what you study. 3. Doing things intelligently. Throughout our lives, we're faced with countless situations, of all kinds. Trying to come up with a brand new way of handling each one would demand considerable effort, so most people naturally fall back on copying what they've seen others do. For example, when given a task, the first approach they think of usually comes from recalling how others performed it. The issue is that these common methods aren't always the most effective or well thought out. Intelligent people, however, don't just follow the crowd. They don't blindly imitate others. Instead, they look for smarter and more effective ways to approach tasks. This applies to any task or activity or goal or endeavor. Before starting, they're less likely to act on autopilot and more likely to evaluate whether there's a better solution. This can be achieved in 2 main ways. The first is by using your own creativity and problem-solving skills to come up with an intelligent approach tailored to the situation. The second is by learning from others, researching the smartest strategies and methods that highly capable people have already discovered, tested, and refined. By combining your originality with the proven strategies of others, you give yourself the greatest chance of finding the most effective approach. Action points. 1. Before starting a task or activity, take a moment to think of the best and smartest way to approach it. 2. Research and learn the most effective methods that others have developed. 4. Deeper calculations. The way good chess players play compared to beginners is a good analogy for understanding how intelligent people think in general compared to others. Beginner chess players start off with very limited thinking. The moves they make are often impulsive and reckless. They make a move without even considering what will happen next, or how the opponent will respond. Even when they try to consider the opponent's response, they usually think only 1 or 2 moves ahead. Good chess players, however, have trained themselves to think several moves ahead. They try to calculate as deeply as possible, considering multiple possibilities and how each one might play out. They continue branching out with each additional calculated move. These ways of thinking extend beyond chess. They parallel the way people think in everyday life. When making a decision or creating a plan, just like beginner chess players, most people only consider 1 or 2 options, and more importantly, they don't calculate very deeply. They tend not to analyze the different possible outcomes, nor how each of those outcomes might unfold over time. Smart individuals, on the other hand, try to go as deep as possible in their mental calculations, much like in chess. They test different scenarios in their minds, analyze the potential outcomes of each option, and then explore how each of those outcomes could branch into further possibilities, continuing this process step by step. Rather than assuming there's only one right path, they prepare several strategies and backup plans. This ability to think broadly and deeply gives them an advantage in handling uncertainty, making their decisions more resilient and effective. And just as chess players train themselves to calculate several moves ahead, you too can practice and strengthen your ability to think deeper and anticipate further. Action points. When making a decision and creating a plan, mentally explore branching paths, where each choice opens up multiple potential outcomes, and each outcome spawns further possibilities. Consider as many scenarios and try to go as deep into the future as possible. 5. Metacognition and consciously improving thinking. Metacognition means thinking about thinking. It's the awareness and regulation of your own thought processes. This is a common trait of intelligent people. They're not only aware of what they are thinking, but also of how they're thinking, which allows them to go meta and reflect on their approach. This skill is important because, most of the time, people rely on familiar patterns of thinking that may not be effective. And when they encounter difficulties, they keep struggling by continuing to use the same thinking methods instead of adjusting them. When smart people, on the other hand, start having difficulties thinking about a situation, they go meta. They stop thinking about the problem and start thinking about how they're thinking about the problem. They then adapt and adopt a more effective strategy, improving their thinking abilities in the process. Through this habit, they continually improve and expand their thinking skills and abilities, effectively increasing their intelligence. This goes against a very common misconception about smart people. People assume they're just born that way, but the truth is that intelligent individuals actively and consciously work to improve how they think. They do this in 2 ways. First, they make improvements and adjustments based on their own reflections and experiences. Second, they learn from others by reading and studying resources on thinking, decision-making, strategy, problem-solving, and related topics. Action points. 1. Develop the habit of metacognition. Notice how you think and recognize your common patterns. Make adjustments to improve your thinking. 2. Whenever you're facing difficulties thinking about a situation, stop thinking about the problem and start analyzing why the way you're thinking is ineffective. Improve or change your approach. 3. Learn thinking-related skills and techniques through books, articles, and research. 6. Reflecting deeply about things. Smart people often have deep and interesting opinions and perspectives. This is because they rarely settle for a simple or superficial understanding of whatever they are thinking about. Their enhanced intellect allows them to spot errors and flaws in common views, and so they inevitably move past the simple view, correcting mistakes and forming a clearer, more thoughtful perspective. Their critical thinking doesn't stop there. They also spot flaws in their own conclusions, prompting them to refine their perspective even further, continuing the cycle of improvement. Because they recognize the errors in others' thinking, they take extra care to avoid similar pitfalls. This forces them to think more extensively, explore topics more thoroughly, consider multiple ideas and perspectives, and critically evaluate their current understanding to avoid incorrect conclusions. Smart people also pursue a deeper understanding of things. Simple and superficial explanations don't satisfy them. They try to go beneath the surface, to uncover the underlying reasons behind things. Curiosity also drives them, making them wonder about things, and actively search for answers. Often, they don't settle for the results of their own thinking alone. They research to learn more, and explore what others have contributed to the topic. This not only provides additional information to deepen their understanding, but also exposes them to the perspectives of other deep thinkers. The more they engage with high-level and deep ideas, the more their own thinking becomes refined and profound. Action points. 1. Don't settle for a simple and surface-level understanding of things. Ask questions and dig deeper. Do more research and achieve a deeper understanding. 2. When thinking about a topic, don't be quick to form an opinion and be satisfied with it. Instead, think more deeply. Question your assumptions, identify flaws in your reasoning, and consider multiple perspectives. Refine your view into a more nuanced, well-reasoned position. 3. Expose yourself regularly to deep thinkers and their ideas through books, long-form essays, lectures, and interviews.